Is up, everybody? Welcome to Mon Goals, sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. I'm Mike. With me is Kevin Josh. The Hounds picked up 3 points out of a possible 6 this past week and have a chance to get 3 more in just a few days' time. We are going to break it all down, but first,
this one feels good.
Do it, Josh.
All right.
Good. It's not 3 like last week, but we'll take the 1 for sure.
It took Josh, 13 games for this victory. 13. That's how many times we have played Charlotte Independent, and this is our first win against them. So
yeah, and if there was ever any question, as to whether or not our own Josh Brokaw was excited about it, I think this picture right here just sort of tells it all.
Nice.
So gotta give the shout out to Ed Thompson, who shared this pic on Twitter. Josh, I said you should frame this and hang it on your wall, but you've said you have different plans for it.
I believe I said I'm making a folder on my desktop called obituary photos or something along those lines, and this will be in there. So you gotta get the good ones in there for everyone.
That's awesome. So great shot there.
Awesome shot.
How was the rest of your 4th, Josh? How'd you guys spend it in the city?
Good, yeah. So one of my friends, Era, he was actually at that game. He was standing right beside me when that photo was taken, and he had a party on the 4th. So went to his house down the north side, hung out in the backyard, drinking, talking, having fun with friends, and just celebrating the 4th, and then kind of watching the fireworks through some tall buildings in between them right afterwards in the back alley, his place. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice. Kev, how'd you celebrate the 4th?
No, I mean, no fireworks, just food. I think on the day of, we have friends in town from out of state, and we just met up with them and went on a long run because it was a sunny day, and then just went for beers afterwards, and then in the evening it was Riley and I just chilled and had some good food.
Did you watch fireworks on TV, or was it just like a firework-less holiday for you?
No, we heard a few pops out the window, but couldn't see anything. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big firework person. I generally don't like loud, sudden noises. So I shy away from that and balloons and things like that.
Oh, popping balloons. I get it now. I'm like, balloons? What? Yeah. Okay, I got there.
Yeah. I celebrated the 4th by watching LFG on HBO Plus, which for those of you it's HBO Max. Everything is Plus now, so I just assume it's HBO Max. LFG stands for Let's Effing Go, but it basically follows the U.S. women's national team in their efforts for trying to sue the U.S. Soccer Federation for equal pay. Was really, really good. I mean, obviously there's some swearing in it, so if you're sensitive to that, but it just makes me want to follow the U.S. women's team even more closely than I already am. It's a really cool thing. I've thought about for a while, what are some ways that the Hounds could up their publicity level and things like that. And we talked a little bit, I think it was last week, about all of these docu-series that are coming out about all these different teams and things like that. And it'd be awesome to see a film or a docu-series about the Hounds, even if it's just on YouTube or something like that, just to bring even more interest. But it was funny because as we were watching this, an idea that we floated a while ago, we talked about minority owners, and somebody mentioned how great it would be to have Snoop Dogg as a minority owner for the Hounds. Have him at Highmark would be fantastic. And there's actually a clip of they were rolling through different celebrities basically saying give the women equal pay. What's wrong with you? Just pay them what the guys earn. And Snoop Dogg was one of them. He was just chilling on his couch, and he was just pay the women, man. Let's go. And I was well, we know he follows soccer, so that's cool.
Was it literally a 4-second clip? Did his friend just shoot him on an iPhone
yes.
on his couch?
Oh yeah, it was totally something he posted on social media, and they just repurposed it for the movie. Nice. But he cares, and he's a Steelers fan, so this would be a way for him to get in the Pittsburgh scene, and we'll see. I don't know if Tuffy would ever go for that, but yeah. And then tangentially, I've been listening to the audiobook One Life by Megan Rapinoe, which is really good. And I'm torn. I don't know where you guys stand on the reading a physical book versus an audio. This is a total tangent. Reading a physical book versus an audio book thing. I tend to like listening to audiobooks when it's the author themselves that are reading it. So in this case, like Megan Rapinoe is telling her story, so to actually hear it in her own words is more compelling to me than if I'm like reading it myself. But then there are some of the audiobooks are pretty good, especially when they get like the Sandman series. They got a whole cast to like read them. That was really good. But
yeah, I'm pretty much exclusively audiobooks nowadays. Like I feel like I've listened to more audiobooks last year than I have read a book in like 5 years. I still read books every once in a while, but it's mostly just audiobooks.
Yeah. Kev, where do you stand? Is it cheating to listen to an audio? I feel like I'm cheating just a little bit.
No, I don't think it's cheating at all. I mean, however you want to get information, that's great. But I'm kind of the opposite. Yeah, no, I haven't. I think the last audiobook I listened to was on a road trip like 3 years ago. And I've been reading books that are sitting on my bookshelf and I haven't read. So yeah, just finished Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is cool. Never read it before. And then I also haven't read The Count of Monte Cristo, and I'm reading that now. And that's really good. Yeah.
I enjoyed that one. Yeah. That's a good book. So yeah, that's sort of what we did on our 4th. Let us know what you did on your 4th. Hopefully it was something safe and fun. And obviously there was a lot that went on this week. We won't get into all of it as it relates to 4th and injuries and things like that. But let's get to the positives, guys. One other thing I want to talk about before we jump into the Hounds: the Hotspurs men's team is headed to its first ever playoffs after beating Syracuse 2-1. Right. So clap it up. Well done, gentlemen. I will say stay tuned because we are planning on having some sweet Hotspur swag that we're going to be giving away here in an upcoming episode. So you'll have to stay tuned and listen for that. Not going to be in this one, but very, very, very soon. So kudos to the Hotspurs team. Guys, the Hounds have they essentially played 2 games since the last time we talked. First game was a loss, 2-1 to Loudon. I did not watch the game. It was family night up at scout camp. My 2 older ones were away at scout camp all week last week. And so I didn't get home until late. And even after I got home late, I was like, this game's long. There was still like 10 minutes left because of the delay. So I wasn't planning on watching this game. The rhetoric after the fact, it sounded like Lily stuck around for an hour on the field, like tearing the guys a new one and not even giving comments to the press who stuck around after that.
Where do you get that information, by the way? Like, who knows that he stayed around for an hour after the game?
It was people in attendance on Twitter were saying that. Yeah.
Okay.
Journalists. Yeah. What did I miss here? Like, is it worth me going back and watching this game? What are our takeaways? What do you guys have? Because clearly other than I saw that Velarde was the captain, which I was a little bit like, whoa, like, cool. Okay. And Griffin was on the field. Forbes got subbed in late, but beyond that, what did I miss? What did we learn from this one?
You missed 2 really nice goals by the other side. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a situation where the game just did not feel good. Like, it never felt like the Hounds were out of it. I wasn't watching and being like, oh man, we can't come back from this. It was just like, I don't know, just something feels a little bit off here. And, not having everyone start, which I still think was the right decision for an away game against Loudon. It was a perfect opportunity for some bench players to step up and kind of like lead the charge. And honestly, it was just 2 really good goals by the other side. And once that first one happened, it was just like a gut punch, just seeing it go in. And then be able to come back in the second half and get a goal right away. I felt really confident. I'm like, okay, we're going to win this one. We got it. And it just didn't happen. And then by the time we put in, kind of did our rotation of subs, and it was pretty early in the second half, and it was like, oh, okay, well, this will be fine. This will be fine. Now we have our starters in there, and it felt almost worse than it did without them. It seems like they couldn't find a groove after that. It just never felt good. So I don't know, Kevin, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I remember. I mean, yeah, I'll speak for myself. I have a history of not respecting Loudon. And
fair. That's fair. I mean, that's fair all around. I mean, Why would you?
Yeah.
You made a comment like, if we can't beat Loudon, like after they had run a 5-game losing streak.
I don't think I said that last week though.
That was me.
Yes,
I definitely said that.
Yeah, I don't.
You said something similar, Kev. But
I've
continue.
said something very similar, like in previous seasons.
Okay,
but right. No, but so hindsight 2020, and I do remember, like after watching the first 20 minutes of the game, I remember the last time we played Loudon this season, and remembering like, okay, yeah, we won, but they weren't as bad as I remember them being in previous seasons. So I don't think Loudon is absolute garbage, even though their form has not been good at all. And I think this was a case. I mean, I remember I started watching it when it was finally after the delays happened, and I remember sitting there talking to Riley, saying like, this is like one of the worst like experiences you could have as a player. I think I was speaking specifically about like the lines ref. Like you're you're at Loudon. It's like 9:00. The game just starts. It's rainy. It was lightning. Like there's no fans there. It's just and like I know these are small things, but like they make an effect. They make a difference, especially if you're the away team. To have that delay, to have the weather effects on top of all of this. I mean, yeah, rotation's good, but I mean, I don't think we should have rotated as much as we did. Like Cicerone and Griffin, maybe Warden and Veet were the only ones. Everyone else kind of came in, and granted, I mean, yeah, Williamson and Velarde and Perez, they all had, and Kilwan. Oh, I guess Kilwan was in there too, but it felt like it was just a bit too much rotation, and it kind of showed. I think like a lot of the momentum that we had in previous games was like the one touch passing and just a quick passing and just everyone knowing where everyone else was. And obviously you're not going to have that if you rotate too heavily. I think if you bring in one or two differences, then fine, you can keep that momentum. It felt like it was just disjointed from the start because of it. And yeah, I mean, when you get Loudon scoring 2 goals the way they did, on one hand, I feel bad for Leaker because I feel like Leaker's had the one other time he started this season, right? This is the second start of the season, I think. His first start, I think he played pretty well, and he makes at least one really good save in this game. And then but the 2 goals for Loudon, because of the camera angles, I can't tell if it was just if it was bad goalkeeping or if it was just a really good shot. I can't be too critical. But
I was waiting for that because I watched, I think it was the first goal and he barely moved. And I was like, ooh, Kev's not going to like that because you're the one that go right at the keeper. Yeah.
But the only thing, like with a better camera angle, we can tell, right? The only thing I'm kind of leaving a little room for fine. Like if he's completely unsighted, if there's a slight deflection or whatever, sure, that's because so rarely do you just not move, right? I mean, like, and it's just, I don't know. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a kind of a crap game. Don't go back and watch it.
Yeah. No, okay, not worth going back to watch at all.
Got to say congrats to Luis Perez, who got his first goal as a professional. That was good to see, and he followed that up with a decent game against Charlotte. So that's a positive. I think we've been waiting to see, after hearing when we talked to all of the players in the preseason, we said, who's somebody that's standing out, and almost every single one said Luis Perez. He's a player. I think we're all really excited to see where he would fit into this team. And it's interesting that, he seems to have found a place over the past few games at sort of that left wing back position, which I don't think we would have expected based on his skill set. But, we can, Let's put the Loudon game to rest. We're going to have another crack at them a week from Saturday. So we'll be seeing them again real soon. But in the Independence game, there was especially that one set piece that he took where he took a left-footed curler around the wall, and it was going in. Brandon Miller had to make a diving save to stop it. But, yeah, I mean, thoughts on Perez? Do you guys think he's playing his way into a starting spot, or do you think he's still sort of an off-the-bench rotation option when we get into congested schedules like this?
I still think he's probably not a starter for us, but I definitely think he is showing good strides, and he is a good substitute coming in later in the game. So it's going to be really hard to make that starting lineup, I feel like. But
yeah,
I think he could find his spot in that wingback position now that Lily has shown the he's willing to do that. He started it with Wharton. I think Wharton, from memory, was really the first time I can think of where he put, outside of Dover and Rivera, the kind of people, at least in my mind, who are, they're the specialists for those positions. And Wharton was, a few games ago was the first time where, for me, he kind of bucked that trend, and he's done it ever since, I think, especially against Charlotte. Because I don't think he's not gonna overtake Griffin. He's not gonna overtake Forbes. So he needs to kind of find his starting position in one of those spots. And I mean, he's been playing well, and I think he can. Another small side note, Josh, I don't remember, like, looking back at the stats for this game, for Loudon. Loudon got 7 yellow cards. And I don't remember that being like a thing in my mind. Was it a thing in your mind?
It was a thing, and I kept on forgetting who was on a yellow because it felt like so many people have gotten yellows by the end of that game. I'm like, surely one of these guys have to get a red here.
Yeah.
Like, surely, because like near the end there, it was after they scored. Let me look at the stats. Yeah, like from like the 81st minute on, like there was 4 yellow cards. All the way up to stoppage time. So like every time one of them got a yellow, I'm like, was that one? Kept on forgetting who had yellows. Yeah, but yeah, so it was really surprising that they didn't get a player taken off. But I think a lot of them got subbed out around the 65th minute.
Yeah. Back to the Independence game, Burger Brand just asked the question in our chat: is there a reason that he's playing players out of position with Wharton as a right wing back and Perez as a winger up top? I will say I was intrigued when they announced the lineup for the Independence game. They've stopped actually announcing lineups, and I shouldn't say they. I'm pretty much assuming that it's just Lily. He just writes a bunch of names on a sheet and turns it in and doesn't put positions on them. But when you looked at the names, it was like, wait, typically you can try to guess what the formation's going to be. And then this one, it was like, I don't know. Like, we were there with our buddy, Soccer Rabbi, trying to figure it out. And it turned out we ended up playing like a 3-6-1 kind of. We just like overloaded the midfield, which I think in that case, if you're going to do that, you kind of have to push some guys out wide, and that's where it was Perez and Wharton who got pushed out wide. Because Kev, to your point, you're not going to push Kenny or Danny or even Velarde out wide at this point. I mean, you could do Velarde, but when you're looking at comparing those guys to the guys in the middle, you want your strength down the middle. So I think that's the case. But I mean, Kev, you're sort of the formations guy. What did you think about a 3-6-1 look to this team?
Well, I mean, I'll just say 3-5-2. I don't the 6. I don't know, but I mean, well, I mean, I'm guessing. Do we know? Does Dover have an injury? Because he didn't even make the bench for this game.
Yeah, he has a nagging injury that he's been nursing. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Rivera makes the bench. Rivera has played in the wingback position. Same thing with Robinson. He's played in the wingback position. I mean, the hunch is by playing Wharton and Perez there, by playing midfielders there, it allows you to retain possession and allows you to have players out wide who are comfortable on the ball, who are comfortable at maybe receiving it in tight areas where you have to control the ball quickly and move it on quickly. And, maybe sacrifice, the classic traits and attributes for those positions are, if you're a right wing back, someone who is fast and is right footed and can make a good cross. And same thing on the left side, the exact opposite. If you're in a scenario where, maybe that works if you have Dos Santos and you want to get it wide and swing in crosses, but if you're in a position where you're home, if you're in a position where you feel like you should be dominating the ball with possession, it feels like you're coming up against a team who you need to flood the midfield with. And, then it makes sense. I mean, wide midfielders were a thing, a decade, 2 decades ago. And Wharton has already shown that he did it well. Perez had a pretty decent game in Loudon. So yeah, I mean, it just gives a different tactical look. They're not gonna go 1-on-1 against their opposition player and try to beat them and get down the line and send it across. But if Lilly doesn't want that to happen, then there's no reason to do it. I mean, Cicerone, Dixon, maybe Deke was an exception, but Cicerone and Dixon, that's not really their game, you don't think, right? I mean, you don't want them fighting for headers from across. So to have players out there who can pick a pass, who can control the ball, who can keep possession going, that seems to be the priority. And I'm on board for it.
Josh, what did you think? Watching on TV, I mean, clearly it felt like this was our game to lose. We totally dominated start to finish. Even after we got, the goal, it didn't feel like we sat back at all. It felt like we just had numbers. But, what was your impression from the Paul Child stand?
Wait, are we talking about for Charlotte?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was there for saying. I thought you said watching on TV.
No, sorry.
Never mind. Rewind, stop, play. So,
yeah.
As far as that goes, I mean, this game was a lot of fun in the fact that if it wasn't for Miller, this game would have been dominated by the Hounds. The keeper for Charlotte was standing on his head, and he's a good keeper. He's been around. Like he's known. Like he's a great keeper. So it's not surprising. But he kept them in this game. There was no doubt about that. This game felt like ours the entire time. The fact that it was 1-0 is just mind-boggling watching it in the stands. Yeah. Even when they were just on our side, going against our goal, it 3-4 shots on goal that looked like they were going to go in, and it's just barely he was able to keep them out. So it's this was an intense game. The atmosphere in this game was probably the best atmosphere of any Hounds game I've been to in a while. I don't know if it was just 4th of July weekend, so the crowd was pretty big. I think they're reporting over 3,000, 3,200 in attendance for this game. So it was just jumping. The players were really into it. It felt like they were honed in, and kind of going back to Loudon, where you're talking about how rain delay, the pitch is wet, the players are just miserable, there's no one in the stands. This was the exact opposite. This game was packed. It was a beautiful day. It wasn't overly hot especially for a July game. Usually July 4th games suck, rain delays and just muggy and terrible. This game was anything but, and having them have that all in their favor and then going out there and doing the performance they did, it's the first time after a game I've seen the players dancing on the field, having fun. They were super pumped. Lardale is jumping up and down. Vitiello, he came over and started dancing to our chant. It's this is a team that was super into the game and super into the result, and you could just tell they were so happy. Yeah. So it was a blast. This game is probably it's probably the best game I've been to in over 2 years. Granted, COVID, so that's not saying much. We'll say 3 years with COVID. So yeah, it was just everything was in our favor for this game, and I can't believe it took us 13 games to beat Charlotte, because the team isn't that great. In this game, they were not that great.
Yeah. No, I mean, to your point, I think of all the shots that we put on, I was most surprised that Velarde's went in. Because it looked like it caught Miller completely stunned, and it looked like he had the near post and Velarde still tucked it away. So kudos to Velarde for putting that in. To your point, I mean, for those of you who were following the conversation on Twitter, there was a lot of Brandon Miller love. I will say I've worked with him personally through BGN. He's a fantastic guy, and probably my favorite non-Hounds keeper in the league. I think dude is just a stud. But again, we dominated this game. We easily could have been up 3-4-0 in this game, and he sort of kept them in it. And we had a number of shots too that we sort of joked at halftime that if we counted field goals, we would have been up 12-0, because we just kept skying them over the net, which Lily has to be harping on guys for that as well. But
I think it's a little bit unfair because we also had a lot of shots that were actually on target. It wasn't like we were skying them constantly. This wasn't a Herzog situation for the Hounds where it felt like, oh man, there it goes again. There was a couple, sure. But like overall, we had some really good shots. I don't even know what the stat is for shots on goal, but it was pretty good. I wouldn't say, okay, shots on target. We had 9 shots on target. They had 1.
Yeah.
And the save that kept us in the game. I forget who headed it out. Who was it?
Wheat. It was Wheat.
Yeah, Wheat.
Wheat.
That's right.
Yeah.
Man, that was like at the moment watching that, like being right behind the goal, I was terrified. But he looked so calm and chill about it. Like it was like nothing. He just like jotted over there, headed it out. Like no problem, guys, no problem. Like hearts in my chest, like jumping up to my throat. Like I'm like, oh my god, that was so close.
But
go ahead, Mike.
And I was going to say, I mean, we talked about this, it might have been last week, where it seems like once a game, it feels like the defense is clearing the ball off the line because I don't necessarily attribute it to it being Vitiello's fault. Like, he had to come out to make that play. It's just this style of play for this team means that Vitiello has to be more aggressive, which leaves an opening for the defense to have to cover in behind them. And it's definitely edge of your seat kind of stuff. But yeah, what were you going to say, Kev?
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, I mean, yeah, the credit still goes to Vite for sure for clearing it off the line. But I mean, I think Vitiello actually, he does his job as well. It would be easy to say he came out and was beat, but for me, I think that was still the right decision to come out and close down the angle and to force the chip. I mean, the player could have tried to do something else, but to him, that was the easiest option, and that gave Vite time to come back and recover. And yeah, Vitiello continues to be aggressive off the line, and I remember watching that and still thinking like, no, he did what he needed to do, and his defense was there to work with him and help him out. So no, it was a very good defensive play.
And that's what we've been complaining about, is feeling like our back line isn't cohesive and they're not, there to work it out and there to back each other up. And this game felt much more like they were, and that we were able to keep the scoreline at 0 is something we've struggled with all season. And so to see a shutout like that, and where the team did get a shot, technically 1 shot on goal, but it's just nice to see that they, were able to be cohesive like that. So I don't think Vitiello had a bad game whatsoever. Like, this was a great game for him as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about our buddy Anthony Velarde here for a second. He got the assist in the Loudoun game. And in this game, he was making some runs in behind. He got the goal in this one after a cheeky little chip from Dikwa. We've talked about sort of the need for the team to have a number 10. Velarde isn't a number 10. He's just sort of like an attacking midfielder. He plays sort of in front of, in this game at least, he was playing sort of in front of Danny Griffin and Kenny. I kind of like him in that spot. I mean, it feels like over the past few years we've been trying to find a spot for him. He hasn't got, consistent minutes week after week after week after week. Sometimes he's out wide. Sometimes he's, part of a front 3, and Lily's constantly playing with him. But there's something about his game that I really kind of like, just sort of like underneath Dikwa or underneath that attacker, making runs with them. We saw him score a couple of great goals last season, sort of making those late runs and picking up the ball. What are your guys? I mean, how far away do you think Velarde is from being a, first team, no question, the way that like a Danny Griffin, Kenny Forbes is? Is he, or do you think he's still got some work to do?
I think the only thing that's restricting him from being a first team, part of the starting 11 is the system. I think the reason why Griffin and Forbes are so well, I mean, that's the reason why Forbes is in, is because he's Forbes. I mean, he's incredible, and you're going to figure out a way to play him. I think the way Lily wants to set up and play, and the way like midfielders generally are in the USL, Danny Griffin is he fits that mold. He ticks all those boxes in the best ways possible. He's a really well-rounded, balanced midfielder that can go both ways. isn't going to score, might get 2 goals a season. Velarde's not that mold. He's definitely not an attacker, though. So he's the product. If you had a manager who was wedded to a certain system, maybe a 4-2-3-1 or something that really kind of allowed for a player in the mold of Velarde, then I think he's good enough to play every week. I just think it's hard in this system at the USL. He's the type of player he is. It's just it's a bit more difficult to fit him in starting 11s than it is to say a Danny Griffin. I still think Griffin is probably still a better player. And in some ways, you're comparing oranges to apples because I think they're just different. But no, like Velarde, Velarde's numbers are good for the amount of minutes that he plays and the chances he creates. So no, I've gotten to the point where I think in the past I've been a bit reluctant and hesitant to see him in like a starting 11. To me, he's always been, he can come on 60 minutes and he can maybe create some chances. And now from his previous performances, that reluctance, if he's in the starting 11, that reluctance is gone for me. And I think that's a big step forward.
He's consistently been subbed in to pretty much every game this season. Trying to look at the stats, I think he had one game, the second game of the season, where he didn't get subbed on. He is definitely like on that cusp. I think he is very, very close. I don't think he's quite there. And I think, it's also just like you were saying, Kevin, it's just the nature of the beast for this system, but also just the players we have and there's quality and he has some competition in the position he wants to play. Or that he is, good at playing. But yeah, it's becoming harder and harder to say he's not ready though. Especially this game, he was probably the most hungry player out there. Like watching him, even the stuff like off the ball, he had a cross early on and it didn't, it got fumbled. I can't remember who. It was a good cross, and he looked visibly upset after that cross didn't go the way he wanted to go. He was like pounding his fist and just looked like he was angry about it. It's like that wasn't even like he was going to make a goal. That was just him doing being happy that he had a great cross and being upset that it didn't find its mark or the person didn't do with it what he wanted them to do with it. So that kind of passion and just him being hungry is, I feel like, going to get him far, and it's definitely getting close for him.
Yeah, I really like him in that kind of false 9 position of Dixon and Cicerone on either side of him, and he kind of, he's not on the shoulder of their last defender. He's kind of dropping in these spaces in between the opposition's defense and midfield, and I think it suits his attributes well. He has composure. He has good awareness around him, so he can kind of take the ball under pressure and find the passes that he needs to find. We'll see what happens.
I like him there as well. I think it gives us another look, because instead of relying on Griffin and Forbes to sort of make that final pass through lines, they could make the final pass through lines, or they could connect with Velarde, which shakes things up, who will then find the final pass through the lines. It just so happens that sometimes he is the final pass. Obviously Lily trusts him if he made him captain against Loudon, which, kudos to Velarde for earning that. So we'll have to sort of see how things shake out here over the rest of the season. We could be seeing an evolution of, how he fits into this team as well. So that's exciting. Guys, any other takeaways from this one? Anything else you want to talk about?
Still sad that we didn't actually get to have this game on the 4th of July, like we normally do. We still kind of made the best of it. We had our, 12 p.m. tailgate start time for this game, which, tell you what, 7 hours in a parking lot, that's a long time, but it was a blast. Everyone made it in. Really proud of everyone for not going too hard during the tailgate, and no casualties of war. So that was good, and it was a blast, and I just can't wait to get back into Highmark and have some more fun.
Both you and Liz had shared pictures on social media of your trunk, and it totally looked like you guys were packing for a long distance road trip, not just to go down to the stadium. So yeah, kudos to you guys for sticking it out for the full 7 hours. Yeah, I mean, you and I both sort of theorized independently, and and just like, oh yeah, we both said the same thing, that this could have been an opportunity for the Hounds to potentially make a little bit more money, because then they could sell tickets on July 4th for people to go down and watch the fireworks. Which I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I think.
I don't think it's that. I honestly don't. After thinking about it more and talking with some people, I feel like they would have actually made more money if this would have been on the 4th, because they can pay. They always charge more for the 4th parking anyway, so they would have made more money on parking to begin with, and the stadium would have been even more packed, and they would have made more money on concessions, because they leave the concessions open after the game's over when the fireworks right before the fireworks go off. So they would have made even more money with all that. And good points were made with both teams have Wednesday games coming up. So like neither team wanted to play on a Sunday, because then they have a Wednesday turnaround. So I feel like it was just congested schedule and made it impossible to have like a Sunday game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Speaking of, the condensed schedule, guys, we got Wednesday, just a few days from now. We're going to face the Charleston Battery for the first time this season, 7:30 p.m. ESPN Plus. The Hounds Twitter, Matt basically tweeted out something about the Old Guard Shield. Is the Old Guard Shield still a thing? Like,
I mean, technically, yes. I feel like we haven't seen very much activity on the account for the Old Guard. So I'm trying to think who has the most teams who are originally part of the Old Guard. I feel like it's still championship, because that's how it's supposed to work, is whoever has the most teams in the Old Guard, which is like Richmond, Harrisburg, which they're no longer around, the Hounds, Battery, Rochester, and I feel like that was it.
I think that was it too. So
out
really, of those 5 teams, there's only 3 that are left,
and 2 of them are in championship.
The championship.
So therefore, the Old Guard Shield is technically still alive, and it is the Charleston Battery and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds until Velarde gets not Velarde. I mean, sorry. Gets Rochester back up and running, and we'll see what league they end up in. Yeah. Watch it be a totally different league, so it's going to be like spread across 3 different leagues.
Yeah. But guys, this is I mean, any time that we play the Battery, it's always a grind. It's always a battle. It's just it's 2 Old Guard teams getting together, and regardless of what, Kev?
I was going to say, how are they doing this season? I haven't checked.
So they're a team that we should be able to beat. They're currently 6th in the in our conference on 11 points, but they've also played 4 less games than we have. Their last 3 games, they basically lost 3-0 to Charlotte, so that bodes well for we just beat Charlotte 1-0. They beat Loudoun 3-0, which we just lost to Loudoun, and they lost 1-0 to Tampa, which we just beat Tampa. So it's a back and forth, hard to read kind of thing. They played on Friday against Tampa, whereas we obviously played Saturday against the Independents. So we'll have one more day of rest on us. But yeah, I think they're in a new stadium, which will be interesting to see. For the longest time, they've been playing at that same field, and they finally get their own new joint, which after the new rebrand and everything else, I've always been a fan of the Battery and sort of what they do on and off the field. So kudos to them for that. What are we expecting from this game, guys? I think, when we looked at the over under for basically Loudoun, Independence, and the Battery, I think we set the over under at 4.5, and we all took the over, which means that first of all, I don't think any of us were expecting a loss to Loudoun. But if we all took the over, that means we've got to beat the Battery. How are we feeling? Basically, once again, a quick turnaround for another game after the, hugely emotional win over the Independents. Do we think that we carry that momentum, or is this potentially a trap game before we get, a much needed 10 days off? Josh, how are you feeling about this game?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough just because of tired legs, and it's a lot to ask of the team to, back to back to back. So I'm not expecting, I feel like it's not a game that I'm thinking we're going to lose. It's definitely a game that we can win. It's going to be a situation where we're going to have to dig deep, and seeing how we did with a lot of, not second tier, that's mean to say, but a lot of our non-starters last game. with Loudon. Like, are we going to be asking on them again to, perform for this game, or are we going to be able to play more starters? I feel like we could probably play more starters than we did last time, but it's just not. It's not going to be pretty. I got a feeling it's going to be one of those games that might be really defensively heavy on both sides and just kind of like a grudge match.
Yeah, like I was saying, we play Wednesday, and then we won't play again this weekend. We'll basically go all the way till next Saturday when we'll face Loudon at home. So the guys will have 10 days off. So you would think that hopefully that means like give the starters a go, or put out your preferred squad, because you got that 10 days break. Kev, how are you feeling about this one?
I was gonna say, I think for me it really just depends on who starts and who plays and what I still want to see a ton of rotation again, especially with the 10 subs, and that could be a growing concern of mine. Where I don't think, I mean, I love the kind of established starting 11 players that we have, in a Loudon game where it felt like we lost a lot of that momentum. Against Charlotte, we just picked it right back up again, and a lot of those one-touch passes and quick movements. The goal being the prime example of it was back, and yeah. So I think we look at an entirely different team when we get a set of players who know how to play with each other, and I think if we do that, then I know with Josh, there's very few. I can't really think of a single team right now where I would go into it thinking that the odds aren't in our favor, and that's going to be the case with Charleston too. But it's not going to be easy. I don't think we're going to roll past them, and I think we're probably going to have to rely on Vidiello again.
So if I'm holding your feet to the fire, are we saying this is going to be a draw, or do you feel good about a win?
I would say a draw.
I feel good about a win, actually, but it's going to be tough.
Okay. I'm hoping, as always, I'm hoping for a win, but I could see a draw being in the cards.
I mean, it could be a very pivotal time in the season, right? I mean, like, I think before Loudon, I was banging that drum of, okay, yeah, this is the corner that we always turn in every season where we have a slow start and then, Lily gets them on a run. And, the Charleston game will be the punctuation of that kind of run. Is it Loudon was just a hiccup and don't worry about it? Or was it, Loudon was a sign of something to come? So, and with the 10 days off, I mean, yeah, it leaves a bitter taste in your mouth if you're going into that 10-day break with a bad performance and a bad result. So, I mean, this could be the catalyst for us to kind of continue to kick on and kind of create that mid-season run that we usually go on.
Kev, to your point, if the Hounds beat the Battery, then that means that they will have their 5th win in 6 games and their 7th win during the 10-game run that we've had over the past 40 games, which is insane. So I think that, we have a tendency of sort of looking at this in a microcosm where we're always focused on the last game, or in this case, the last 2 games recently, and then just briefly looking at the one. But if you actually look at the stretch, it doesn't feel like we could win 5 out of 6 and 7 out of 10, but in reality, we could. And that's a pretty good return. If we said going into the beginning of the season that we'd go on a stretch where we win 7 out of 10, I think we'd be like, yeah, take that. That sounds great.
So we have the best form right now. I'm looking at the
at the
standings
table?
at the table, and
let's look at the table together, Josh.
Yeah, we have the best form right now. I'm just saying we have the most, out of the last 5.
Yeah. So out of everybody, Tampa has lost 2 in their last 5. So is Hartford, which we haven't seen. No, we have seen Hartford already this season. That was the Kenny Forbes red card game. Yeah, we do have the best form thus far. So what's going to be interesting is, we've played 2 more games than anybody else in a playoff position right now, and 1 more game than everybody. So at some point, you'd think that the numbers are going to sort of shake out and we'll see what happens. But Hartford have 4 games in hand on us right now, and they're only 4 points back, which is crazy. And even Charleston, we have, they have 4 games in hand on us, but they're 9 points back. So we just got to keep winning. And
yeah, it's annoying. I really want like all the games to be more even up. Like I want the games played to look more consistent, so I can get a better feel about how we're doing compared to everyone else. Because right now, yeah, it's having teams who have only played single-digit games while other teams have played 12 games is annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, even though we have the form on our side, I mean, it's 20 points in 12 games. I mean, it's just under 2 points a game, which, we, I mean, I don't know. This could be a bad like, or like an out of, I don't know, what's the word? This like kind of benchmark can no longer be relevant, but it used to be a benchmark of, if you go at 2 points a game, it gives yourself a good shot. And as well as we've been doing, we're still not exactly hitting 2 points a game. We're not far. But so, it might sound greedy, or I mean, not greedy, but it might sound overly optimistic to say that, like, no, we need to keep winning, but we do, especially looking at that table and with all the teams that still have games in hand. So,
yeah, it's hard to believe that, after this game, we're going to be talking mid to late July by the time we have our next game, and like the summer is going to be gone like that. So it's still, we always get to this point in the season where it still feels like it's really early and we still got a lot of time to like make up stuff. And it's like, we're getting pretty close to that halfway point where, you either figure it out or you don't. I think we're in a pretty good position reaching that halfway point, even though, like we said, we have, we've played more games and all of that. But, if we said halfway through the season we were sitting in second place in the Atlantic Division, I think we'd be like, okay, like that gives us a good chance to make a run. Like that sounds good. But yeah, Josh, to your point, it is frustrating when, you have all these other teams that need to make up all these games. That just means that they're going to have a congestive schedule at some point as well. And we can sort of sit back and see how they fare. And, the best we can do is the best we can do when we're in that situation. So I don't think we have, once we come back, play Loudoun next Saturday, I think we're pretty much on a weekly schedule for a while. And then we'll get into like a random Wednesday game here and there. But for the most part, we should be able to settle in and really sort of find our squad and put out, everybody should be well rested, put out our best players on the weekend and sort of see what happens. So that'll be encouraging and fun to see what happens there.
Yeah, I'd always rather have points on the board than games in hand for sure. But so, yeah, I mean, they still need to play their games and they still need to catch up, but yeah. Well,
and some of those games in hand are against us. So like we have a chance to cut into that even further. So that's good.
True.
So that's what we think. Obviously, let us know what you think. Guys, make sure that when you're watching the game against the Battery, hop on Twitter, use the hashtag CHSVPIT. We will be there tweeting away fun GIFs and thoughts, and most of the stuff doesn't make sense when you go back and watch it later because a lot of it is very reactionary. Like I think there was some foul that was called and I caught myself just tweeting a GIF that just said no. Like, so like if you have no idea what's going on, you're not going to know, but it's fun to like watch and be part of the conversation and just mess around. So we will be there. And, for any game that I'm not at personally, we will be doing it for home games as well. A couple of you had mentioned that you guys missed that for the Loudoun game and the game before that. We didn't do it. So we'll be back and we'll keep doing it from there on out. Guys, anything else that you wanted to talk about on this one?
No, I'm just, again, happy that it sucks that we lost against Loudoun, but winning against Charlotte was huge. And I'm glad it happened before they go under, because I don't know if you saw the rumors, but it looks like they might be going down a league. Possible. Yeah. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but it sounds like that's probably going to happen. So if they would have left this league before we had a chance to beat them, I would have been very upset.
It would have been a Cincinnati situation all over again, except we just didn't hate them that much. It's going to be tough. I mean, especially with Charlotte getting their MLS squad. Is that next year?
Yeah, that's why it's
then,
happening, probably.
Yeah. So it'll be really, really tough. Have you guys been? Go ahead.
And I was just going to ask. I mean, from the TV, it looks like there's decent attendance numbers. Josh, how's like the attendance been? I mean, specifically for the previous game, but over the course of the season for the home games,
it's been getting better and better. I feel like each game it builds a little bit bigger, and this game was definitely the biggest. It's hard to know if that jump is just because of the fact that it's 4th of July weekend, so a lot of people are out and about for the holiday. But the fact that the game was on the 3rd and not on the 4th, so you couldn't really look at the fireworks for being the reason why this game sold so well, which is usually what happens. So having that good of an attendance for just a weekend game, even if it was a holiday weekend, is pretty good. And like I said, like the atmosphere was great. There's just a lot of good things happening, it seems like, at the Highmark Stadium. So it's going good, and I'm excited to see how it builds.
We need to create a viral video to encourage Snoop to come be a minority owner. Just like
you're not gonna let it go.
Somebody's got to. If you have an idea, let us know. We will make a video, and hopefully it goes viral, and it'll get Snoop's attention. And but I'm joking, but also like you want to talk like putting butts in seats. Like for the longest time, the Hounds have said like well, if you win, like people will show up. Yeah, people will show up. If you say Snoop is a minority investor and is going to be at some of the games, people are going to show up for that too. So, and not to mention, the injection of cash that might, lead to going out and buying more players that then, results in a better product.
We can say whatever we want to say. You didn't say it had to be true.
Real quick, any thoughts on the Euros? Is the cup coming back to soccer's home in England? Are they going to take it all this year?
I mean, I'm usually not huge into the Euros, but this year has been a lot of fun to watch. The games have been intense, and as someone like myself who's like not a huge soccer fan outside of domestic soccer, it's been really fun.
Yeah, the 2020 Euros, I should say. Like, just add more confusion to everything.
Jeez.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, the World Cup's still supposed to go on next year, right? So
yeah.
I mean the stories are all over the place with Denmark still being in it with Christian Eriksen and
speaking of, there was somebody posted something today that Christian Eriksen is out of the hospital, out and about, looking good. He took a picture with some fans, so like, yeah, that's fantastic news.
And I don't know, I kind of hate the whole like coming home thing. I
feel like it's supposed to. I feel like that's like the point now. It's supposed to be like a meme. It's supposed to be like annoying and stupid, and like half the time it feels like it's being said in jest. Like kind of like it's almost like a safety net for when they don't make it, so everyone can be like, "Haha, that funny joke. It's coming home." Like we all knew it wasn't. It's just a meme to say it. But at the same time, like you can kind of be like, "No, I've always thought that. Like I said it was coming home." Right. So I feel like it's a two-edged sword that you're hedging your bets when you hashtag it's coming home. As far as if you're in English, in English,
right?
Like that.
Yeah.
It feels very colonialistic to claim that you're the one that invented soccer, and that's why I'm just like, okay.
I mean, they did. Sure. Like England. Like I personally,
we started kicking a ball first. No, you didn't.
But I mean, they made it. I'll fight on that. I will say, like England created soccer and exported a lot of the game to
for
the
those
world.
listening to the podcast. Kevin just used a heck of a lot of air quotes as he said
created soccer.
Yeah.
but it does feel just like at this point, like what are you trying to say? Like like you own every part of glory that comes. No, you don't. Like that ship has sailed a long time ago. Like you've been crap for like the past 2 decades. and so it feels really weird to say it in that way. But no, I mean, it's, I think usually you get, maybe you don't. I was going to say usually get a slightly one-sided things for semifinals. with how Denmark's playing, it's not a sure thing. England are going to beat Denmark, and I mean Italy are the favorites, obviously over Spain, but that's not a sure thing either. So no, it's going to be.
I can't believe
Spain
really made it through.
I didn't think they were going
Spain
to.
should
Yeah,
not have won that game.
like wow, that was close. I will say this with the coming home thing, it has the same energy as the "I believe we will win" chant. Like they kind of both have like this very much like. Kind of pathetic feel to them. Like it almost feels naive type feeling to it, where it's like, yeah, sure it is. Sure you will. Okay. Keep telling yourself that, buddy. That's what it feels like. That's the energy it's bringing to the table.
Maybe this will. I mean, because I think we all have somewhat of a vested interest in like English based soccer, but Do any of you think like anything's going to happen with like Gareth Southgate? If regardless of what happens after this, is he going to be set up for a club managerial spot? Do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't even heard any of those rumors. It just feels like every game is just like, is Southgate going to get it right? And it's like, well, he's gotten them this far.
I think no one in the English media are stupid enough to start writing those articles of saying like, where is he gonna go now? Because like no one wants to read that. Everyone just wants to be on the Euro bandwagon.
I mean, if England figures out a way to win the Euros, I mean, do they realistically want him to be a coach somewhere else, or do they want him to keep coaching the England squad?
I'm sure they want him to keep the England squad for sure, but it's about like he's gonna get a bigger payday and more prestige if he goes to club. So
who does he go to?
I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I don't think no one's going to touch him yet. And I think the World Cup's still around the corner, and I think he'll be there for a few more years. But it's interesting to think about, I think.
Yeah, I didn't even know who the manager of the English squad was, so I have no opinion on this at all.
Josh, do you have any opinions on the new Everton manager?
I have no opinions on this at all. Honestly, I don't. I have no like. I don't I understand why some people are upset by it, the whole idea, Rafa or whatever, but I don't care. And to me, it's more about just not thinking he sounds like that great of a manager to begin with. Like, he had good stuff in the past, but more recently, meh. So it's like I don't know. Whatever. Everton's going to Everton is how I feel right now. So.
Do you guys have any thoughts on? I'm just going to keep going. We could stop at any minute here. Do you guys have any thoughts on City potentially spending $250 million on two players, Harry Kane and Jack Grealish? First of all, I don't want to see Jack go. I don't necessarily think Jack's going to go from Aston Villa. It's his boyhood team, and like he's the captain, and he just signed a 5-year deal last year. So I don't really know what changed.
And
other than
your Aston Villa's your club, and
exactly. And so like, but If City comes with $100 million, I don't know how Villa says no, but
I want to see City spend as much money on possible on mediocre players. So yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. The player that all of the fans in England were chanting for to get on the field in not the most recent game, but the game before that. It's okay. That's all right.
Yeah. I believe my tweet was, Kane was still on the field when he scored. Well, like I didn't even know he was still playing. So yeah, whatever.
Josh, does that mean like all the Everton players are safe then? Is that what you're?
Yeah, they're all definitely safe. Yeah. City's coming knocking for us. Sure.
Last question: Messi's a free agent. Is he going to stay at Barca or go to PSG or go to Man City? What's he doing?
I don't care. I don't like. Yeah, he's amazing, and yes, it's going to be huge wherever he goes. And it is. I'm not trying to say like
he's going to Miami, baby.
It's a very relevant question because it's like, where is potentially the greatest player of all time going to go? Like next, yeah, like that's interesting. I personally like. I don't know.
He's going to go wherever his family wants to live. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like at this point, it's a situation where it's like, anyone's going to pay top dollar for him. He has his pick. So it's like, where do you want to live? Because there's nothing left for him to prove. It's not like he has to go somewhere and be like, I want to prove I can be the top of the Premier League. It's like, no, who cares?
Yeah,
like, you don't have to do that. No. So I see no reason for him to go anywhere to prove anything. So therefore, it's going to be more about where he wants to live and where his family wants to live.
Yeah. I think they stay. I think he stays at Barca. I think if he leaves, like Barcelona is going to look like a laughing stock for letting the best player in the world leave on a free because they couldn't sign him to a contract before he left.
I think Barca's already kind of a laughing stock over how they like managed everything the past few years. Yeah,
for sure. But they got a new president, and now the hope is to like turn everything around. But I mean, unless the City really think that there's a chance of reuniting him with Pep, but I don't even know if Pep wants that. Although KDB just announced that he played the last game with a completely torn ligament in his ankle. So KDB may be missing early parts of the season, which might affect how Pep goes after people in the offseason. But
the last thing I'll say about this is with every like City potentially splashing cash. Because of that, I listen in Liverpool circles, and Liverpool fans are now saying like, well, why aren't Liverpool like potentially signing out this? Like, don't let us not forget the European Super League conversations. Like this is what happens. Like if we can't want these huge signings and still not expect things like the European Super League to happen. So I think it's just that's my little thing. Everyone stopped talking about it, and everyone's just like, "Oh, like where's Kane gonna go? Like Mbappe and Holland is like 100 million." It's like, I'm sorry, you like the next time the European Super League comes up, which it will, like,
remember this, yes,
yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. So lots of news. I think Josh, I saw that you finally were at least considering taking the plunge and signing up for an Athletic account. I have one, and I'm constantly reading transfer news and Euro news, and now U.S. Women's National Team news. And
wow, we got it for very different reasons. I got it because I wanted to read about who the models were for the Columbus Crew crest from the original with the 3 hard hats.
Nice.
Article was written about. I just forgot Pablo. Yeah, Pablo finding the writer finding out who one of the guys were that modeled for it. I'm like, cool. Oh, I have to read that article. Sign me up.
Nice. Well, guys, I think that's it for this one. Obviously, Hounds play Wednesday night. So depending on when you're listening to this could be tomorrow. It could be 2 days from now. But if you're watching the game, 7:30 ESPN Plus. Like we said, hop on Twitter, use that hashtag. What is it? CHS. I already forgot what it is. It's CHSVPIT. And we'll be there tweeting away. You can send ideas, thoughts, comments, funny GIFs. Love getting into GIF wars with people, especially when they're themed. Like I'll pick a show, somebody else picks a show, and we just go back and forth. So join us over there.
I haven't hung it up yet, but I did.
Oh, nice.
You said yet. You said yet. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, no, I know. I brought it in. Sorry, this is an audio medium as well. I'm holding up my old Mark Forrest Riverhounds jersey because they both Mike and Josh have stuff in the background and I don't. So I haven't figured out how to put it up yet, but I'll figure something out.
Just put a nail on the wall and hang it on a hanger. Come on, man.
This is Riley's room. I don't want to mess with it.
Take the calendar down behind you
right.
and put up the Forrest jersey. It's fine.
That's probably what I wanted to do.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, I think that wraps it for us, guys. Thank you, everybody, for listening and participating and contributing. I think we started with a whole bunch of watchers and then whittled it down to like 2 when we were talking of like really focused about Messi. So that's just sort of how it goes. That's fine. But be sure you have it at mongoals.com. Click on support the show to become a Patreon follower. It's your weekly reminder that Black Lives Matter. As always, thanks to Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier to USL, MLS, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. Tired of the same old uniforms or cookie cutter templates from Nike and Adidas? Looking for a completely custom kit for your youth club, Sunday league squad, adult, or even pro team? Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at icarusfc.com. Looking for more great USL news? Head over to bgn.fm, where we've now got over 100 fans and players. I mentioned Brandon Miller is over there doing stuff that are writing and podcasting about the beautiful game. Lots of great features that went up on the site this week. Check them out on bgn.fm. Otherwise, thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you very, very soon.
Cheers.
Later.